what's going on, everybody? This is John J Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a special episode of the NCSL Dynasty here on NCAA 14. We started the year with close to 130 teams competing for the ultimate prize that is the national championship, but we are down to the final 8 teams who have been invited to the college football playoff. What's going to happen here in today's episode is that you are going to see the entire college football playoff play out live right before our eyes. So it should be a very fun one to watch. I'm excited for this college football playoff content coming your way shortly. But before we dive into it though, I need you guys to do me a couple of big things. Smack that like button for me so that we can see this video sent out to more college football fans like yourself. And then also hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. But now, let's not waste any more time moving forward. Let's go ahead and dive in to the college football playoff action, starting with the quarterfinal round. So let's go ahead and get the college football playoff officially underway. And we'll start with our first quarterfinal matchup that we have for the college football playoff. We have the #1 ranked team in America. Well, they will be taking on the champions of the Conference USA. They'll be taking on the Penn State Nittany Lions, who did come into this tournament as a #8 seed, but with the #10 national ranking. So Penn State is certainly not a slouch. We had worse teams that were in that 7 and 8 seed last season. But USC early on is going to be looking to set the tone, and they're going to use that running game to get it going early, as Nick Richard is going to get across midfield. And on USC's first drive of the game, they're putting together a pretty impressive drive so far. Very methodical. But Ben Scott, he knows a thing or two about throwing the big passes downfield. His receivers making plays. Jason Clayton is almost going to have his 8th touchdown of this season, but they are going to mark him down at the 1-yard line. But it will be finished off by none other than Ben Scott, the senior quarterback for the Trojans. He'll find his way into the end zone, and USC will have themselves a 7-0 lead. Very impressive opening drive. And unfortunately, Penn State cannot answer, so we might be in a little bit of the danger zone right now, as the USC offense just looks borderline unstoppable here in this first round of the playoff. This is still just the second drive for USC right now, and they're looking for a 14-0 lead. This will draw them. Making that happen, Myron Jones finds the end zone. Touchdown, Trojans. And USC again extends the lead 14-0. And that's just a pure case of bad tackling there, unfortunately. And now Penn State is behind the 8 ball. They are a team that likes to run the ball, so we're going to need some explosive plays on the outside if they want to get back into this game. We'll see if their quarterback is capable of doing just that, as they're going to hand it off on a halfback draw. Nice run here by the tailback, George Jones. Was able to stay on his feet, get his 16 yards on his first carry of the day. And his teammate, Blaine Ingram, will be awarded with the very first points that Penn State will end up scoring in this particular ball game. So Penn State does cut it back to a 1-score game once again. But certainly, it has been a challenge to stop the USC offense. It's been looking nothing short of a juggernaut, as Jason Clayton is going to get some more points, or at least not more points, but more yards on the board. Having a great opening salvo here in the first half of the college football playoff. But Ben Scott's going to take a critical sack. He's going to be brought down, and that'll force the Trojans to at least settle for a field goal. So, at least in this case, Penn State is going to bend here, but they're certainly not going to break this time around. And that's really the key for USC to come back in, or at least Penn State to come back and win this game. They got to bend, but they're not going to break, because shutting down the USC offense, I don't think is simply going to happen at this point. Jason Clayton is just all over the field, making big plays as well. But here we go, big play, 3rd and goal coming up, and Ben Scott got some time in the pocket. He'll find Freddie Warren into the end zone. Touchdown, Trojans. And USC, well, they are going to score yet again. They'll take a commanding lead into the locker room. Now, we go into the second half of action. USC up 27-7 right now. And finally, we start seeing this Penn State offense wake up a little bit. Great throw over the middle to Brett Adams, who has provided some pretty big plays on the outside. Maybe they should try to actually target him a little bit more. But then, a couple plays later, they face a 3rd and 5, but John Anderson, true freshman at the cornerback position, part of that #1 recruiting class that USC brought in last year. He freezes up a little bit there, but he's not going to freeze up the USC defense from being as dominant as it is. As right after that, Brent Scott is going to just throw this ball up for Freddie Warren, and Freddie Warren is actually going to come down with this bomb. 45-yard touchdown for the USC Trojans. And that's just Ben Scott trusting his receiver to make a play. And oh boy, did his receiver, well, he made quite a play all right. So now 34-7 is your score, as Scott will again throw over to the right-hand side. Gets Jason Clayton. No, that's Freddie Warren that made the play, but a 23-yard reception for Freddie Warren. Talked a little bit more about Jason Clayton, but Warren closing in on 100 yards on the day as they go with a play action. They go back to Jeff Evans for a 29-yard strike. And Ben Scott is on absolute fire right now. More fire than what's on the mixtape. And USC, they're going to be proven to be one of the dominant teams in the college football playoff. They absolutely crush Penn State here in this opening college football playoff, 51-14. But now we go to other aspects of the quarterfinals of the college football playoff and this 4 and 5 matchup. Well, it is a rare matchup that we get to see in the postseason, as we got two teams from the exact same conference here represented in this college football playoff right now. As we get a rare look at the standings, Minnesota did not make it into the college football or the American Conference Championship. They that slow start that they had where they went 1-3, 2 of them were conference losses. So they have since gone on an 8-game winning streak. So Minnesota, one of the hotter teams in the country. Nebraska is no slouch though, as they're going to get a turnover in the end zone. Lou Harrison just didn't put that ball where it needed to be placed. And Minnesota, they drove inside the 5-yard line on that drive. They don't come away with anything. And Minnesota just shooting themselves in the foot early on in this one. 2 turnovers on the first couple of drives for the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Really looking like the actual Clemson offense that we saw against Duke on Monday night. But Nebraska, they aren't doing themselves any favors either. Another turnover. This time, James Robertson gonna pick him off as CJ McIntyre. Really not sure what CJ McIntyre was looking at there, but eventually we will see points scored in this game. We'll get a field goal early in the second quarter. So Minnesota does have the lead now at this point. That did happen off screen. But Minnesota finally has a chance to get a touchdown on the board. And they do it again. Lou Harrison turns the ball over inside the 5-yard line. Does Lou Harrison have the under on this game? We got to investigate that sports betting, because that's simply ain't it, Chief, right? So Minnesota does get another field goal on a separate drive, but they're keeping Nebraska in this game when they really shouldn't be, if we're being real with ourselves right now. Minnesota should have a much more convincing lead than what they have right now. Maybe the second interception by CJ McIntyre. We'll see if that actually changes that or not. But less than 3 minutes left. Lou Harrison starts out inside the 5-yard line. This time, not being cute with it. Just give it to the tailback, Jason Haynes. And Jason Haynes is going to run his way into the end zone. And the Golden Gophers will score. They don't go for the 2-point conversion. So 13-0 lead for Minnesota. We'll see if CJ can answer back with less than a minute left to play here in this first half of action. We saw CJ McIntyre been pretty quiet so far today. Looking for a big throw downfield. It's going to be caught. It's going to be caught by Eddie Robinson. Touchdown, Nebraska. And the Cornhuskers, the number 4 team in America, They are going to close the gap on the Minnesota Golden Gophers. So a 6-point game going into the half. We'll see if these teams can separate themselves in this second half. A quarter, a half of football deciding who go into the semifinals. Is this could be a big play for the Minnesota defense, and it is. The Golden Gophers are going to recover. So Nebraska, late in the third quarter, they looked like they had a drive in place to actually get points on the board. Did not happen that way, and the turnovers just keep coming along. It's really rough to see. You really hate to see it. 7 turnovers and counting between these two teams. Like, do either of them want to go to the semifinals at this point? I know USC is waiting, so maybe they're not as ecstatic about that, but it's another chance to get closer to that national championship, that ultimate prize here. And I think we're starting to see Minnesota finally take it more seriously. 20-7 will now be your score after the Lou Harrison touchdown. And keep in mind, for Lou Harris, this Minnesota team played Nebraska in the regular season. They actually did beat the Cornhuskers. This was Nebraska's only loss on the year. And it looks like they're going to try to kick Nebraska out of the college football playoff as well. As with about 4 minutes left to play in the game, Lou Harrison, he'll get another score on the board. It should be a game that should mean that it's over. 28-7, 4 minutes left. Minnesota should be feeling good at this point, right? That's what it should be. And then Nebraska gets on their bull crap, right? 4 minutes left. CJ McIntyre, he's going to look over the middle of the field. It's got an open receiver. And I don't know how in this situation you let the top of the defense get blown like that. Terrell Harrell just gets behind the coverage. It's just a go route down the middle of the field. 4 verticals. So nothing crazy that this guy did in terms of route running. And yet here we are. Gets behind the defense. Nebraska will score a touchdown. However, they're also able to force Minnesota to not get any first down. So Nebraska still has all of their timeouts. And how does it come down with that? Jeremy Jackson. Oh my goodness, that's an incredible catch. I have no idea how he comes down with it. But it's a red zone opportunity. And Brian Robinson is going to score. So I really did thought that this game was over. I thought we were done here. But here we are. This is going to turn to an interesting game. It might come down to that onside kick. Now, didn't get a chance to show the onside kick. A little bit of user error though. But Minnesota does get a field goal. So Nebraska's going to have to move up and down this field quickly. They'll need either a touchdown or a field goal. They just need points either way. And then they got to get lucky, get the onside kick, right? So, nice job running the no-huddle offense here, as I thought Jeremy Jackson got into the end zone there. That was not the case. So, 3rd and goal, CJ McIntyre trying to get into the end zone, and he does with Brian Robinson, who's also a quarterback on this team. He's the backup quarterback, and he's a pretty athletic one as well. Nice hands there by Brian Robinson. A very surprisingly sure-handed receiver. But now the moment of truth, the onside kick. They need this in order to stay alive, but Minnesota is going to recover that onside kick. So an incredible comeback attempt by the Cornhuskers. However, it is not going to be enough though, as Minnesota will move on to the semifinals. So now we get into the bottom half of the college football playoff bracket as we now continue our quarterfinals coverage. This one is Ohio State, ranked number 7 in the entire country. They are also champions of the Big Ten Conference as well. The Big Ten not earning that automatic bid, so Ohio State gets in as a wild card. They'll be taking on an undefeated Georgia team. Georgia coming in ranked number 2 in the entire country, just right behind USC. But let's see who wants it more as we start our coverage of the Fiesta Bowl. First drive of the game, we got Ohio State starting with the ball, and they got a wide open receiver to start things out. Sam Williams gets things started with a 41-yard reception. It will fuel Ohio State to get themselves onto that scorecard, as they will get a field goal up on the scoreboard, making it 3-0. So they'll get a field goal there. But next possession for Ohio State, though, has a chance to make this a 2-score game. And Brooks Hicks just doesn't make the best decision possible, right? Perry Brand was all over him like cheese on macaroni, right? And it leads to an interception. However, Georgia has a rough time getting their offense going, struggling against the Ohio State front seven in particular. Brooks Hicks, however, not as much of a problem running on the Georgia defense. One of the better defenses that we did end up seeing in America this past season. So that'll be a touchdown for Ohio State, the first such touchdown that we see so far in this quarterfinal matchup. So now Georgia's down by 10. However, this quarterback got plenty of time to throw the ball. He's going to find Zach Grigsby in the back of the end zone. And Zach Grigsby's continuing an excellent season. He already has the school record for most receiving touchdowns, catches, probably receiving yards too at the University of Georgia. He's trying to just keep those hopes and dreams alive. And the defense is going to help out with that tremendously, as Brooks Hicks is going to throw yet another interception. Doug Pennant got in front of that pass and just showed those silky smooth hands. So now Georgia has a chance to take the lead with 1:10 left to play. Looking around, got a clean pocket, it's going to throw downfield, one-on-one coverage, but it's going to be picked off. Ohio State defense is going to hold Andre Bryant, trying to throw it up in the coverage, but Jonathan Holloway said, no, sir, that is not open for business. So Ohio State keeps their lead for now, but if they want to beat Georgia, they're going to need to put more points on the board, as Brad Wood was just wide butt naked open down the corner of the end zone. Easy identification for Brooks Hicks there, find the open receiver. We saw it on the replay. There was no Georgia defender around this guy, so not exactly what you would call a big-time throw. Just literally don't mess up, right? As that's what Reggie Peterson was thinking to himself when he burnt the coverage. A 51-yard catch. That's the Sacramento State transfer coming in and getting Georgia down by the goal line. And Elliott Hartman will oblige in that, as Georgia now cuts it to just within a singular field goal. We got a very close one on our hands. As now 17-14 is your score. As Brooks Hicks, he's going to break one tackle. He's going to put the ball on the ground, though. It's recovered by Georgia. And here comes the Georgia Bulldogs. They have not taken the lead this entire game. We might be seeing those winds change now. However, Georgia, even with the beautiful field position, literally does nothing with it. So Ohio State gets the ball back shortly after. And we're back to Ohio State possessing the ball, and Brad Wood, who gets a huge reception right down the middle of the field, by the way. That's going to be a 1st and 10. Now, that being said, we got Brooks Hicks trying to run up the middle of the field. He's still on his feet. He refuses to go down. Another broken tackle. He's finally dragged down at about the 6-yard line, as that does take us right into the end of the third quarter, and we got a good game on our hands. We've generally had some pretty good college football playoff games here in this quarterfinal round, but now that fourth quarter is going to decide who moves on and who's going to start their off season right here, right now. Brooks Hicks is going to find the end zone for the Ohio State Buckeyes, and I'm not saying Ohio State's got it secured yet, but a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. They're in a good spot right now. 3 minutes left to play, still the same score, as the Buckeyes have a chance to put this game on ice. This will help do so, except he runs out of bounds. So that helps actually Georgia save a timeout here a little bit, as those timeouts might start to come into play shortly, except Andrew Bush is just going to run right down the middle of the field there. And we're going to see Ohio State kick a field goal. So that makes it a 13-point game. Georgia will need 2 touchdowns on their next 2 possessions, if they can even get 2 more possessions. They got one here, looking down the field, and it's going to be caught by Zach Grigsby. Oh, they really needed that, because they have no timeouts. That clock's going to be running as soon as the ball is ready to be snapped. Thankfully, few plays later, Brandon Chance is going to score for the Georgia Bulldogs. And Andre Bryant and company is going to make this just a 6-point game. In such a game that it's going to come down to this one onside kick. Can Georgia recover it and to give themselves a shot? Or will Ohio State win the game? And it looks like Ohio State is going to recover. Ohio State is going to pull the upset against the number 2 team in America, Georgia, losing their first and only game of the season, as it will be Ohio State that will be moving on to the semifinals of the college football playoff. Now, who will Ohio State take on in the semifinals? It will be the winner of Miami and Ole Miss. Ole Miss champions of the Sun Belt, while the Miami Hurricanes, they're your defending national champions. The only 2 losses that Miami does have, actually, both of them were to Georgia. So Miami might be a little bit better team than what is expected to be shown here, as we now see Ole Miss, ranked number 3 in the country, take on this number 6 Miami team. We'll see if Ole Miss can help dethrone the national champions. This is a great run to get it started on, though, as we do see Justin Ferwerda finally lose his balance, but not before a 54-yard run. That's a huge gain for the Rebels early on, and you got to reward the tailbacks after a run like that. It is Tony Brent that steals that red zone carry, but the score will remain the same nonetheless. Ole Miss will have a 7-0 lead. Now, Miami could not answer back with Casey Carter and company, so Ole Miss offense is back out on the field once again, but Eric Archie, he throws it up in a one-on-one matchup. Probably should have been thrown just a little bit more towards the boundary, because Joel Watts, he was tracking it well. Eric Archie will therefore get intercepted because of that. More of a great play by the safety, though. He was thoroughly open at the time. But Miami, again, cannot take advantage of the turnovers, by which would create that additional possession, right? Yeah, absolutely hate to see those opportunities being wasted, as Ole Miss will now face a 3rd and 15. Miami would love to get him off the field, except they forgot to cover Lewis Kelly for a 22-yard reception. That's a first down for the Rebels, as we now move into the second quarter of action. Archie looking for another touchdown on the board. Breaks away from one tackle. He's going to be dropped in the backfield by Stanley Jones, the true sophomore, who makes his presence felt, gets his first sack of the game. And it's going to be hard to punch it in. 3rd and goal. Archie starting to run out of time, and the Miami defense gets home yet again. And Ole Miss has to come out, and they will settle for a field goal. Kick is up, and it is going to be good. Ole Miss will extend this to a 10-0 lead. But Casey Carter still looking for his first points of the game. Trying to throw to the left-hand side, but that is going to be intercepted. So shout out to the Ole Miss Rebel defense as they do come out here, and they completely shut down Miami so far. However, the Hurricanes, even with those offensive lack of fertility, Miami is still in this game, only down by 10. So need a strong second half if you want to put the defending national champions, if you're trying to come out and put them away. 1st and goal with less than 7 minutes left in the 3rd quarter. Archie looks to the left-hand side. It's intercepted, and this guy has a lane. Can the offensive lineman catch him? He can't. And now it's a foot race down the sideline, and this is not one he loses often. Touchdown, Miami. And Michael Clark is going to get the first points of the game for the Miami Hurricanes. And just absolute dejection on the Ole Miss sideline. This was a team that could have been up 17-0. It would have been a commanding lead, and they literally just fumbled a bag right there. You absolutely hate to see it if you're an Ole Miss guy. But even with that pick six, Ole Miss is still in the lead. We do have a new quarterback in the game, though. Eric Archie did get hurt, and I'm pretty sure he got hurt for the rest of the game. So this is Myron Nichols. He is the backup quarterback for the Ole Miss Rebels. Athletic guy, but still needs some work in terms of his pocket passer tendencies. We do see some of that mobility out in motion as he runs the option play so beautifully well. Justin Ferwerda gets into open space, and he has been a problem for the Hurricanes averaging close to 13 yards a carry right now, but they keep putting the ball in the hands of his backup quarterback. And what are we doing? Why are we throwing that pass? I simply do not understand. And Miami should be getting killed in this game if we're being brutally honest right now. But Ole Miss has also turned this ball over 4 separate times now. It's not a good look to see. We do see Eric Archie come back though, so maybe we'll see a little bit more stability in terms of taking care of the football. We'll see if Ole Miss can actually accomplish that. That has been an issue in this ball game as we have less than 5 minutes left to play. Archie throws over the middle of the field. He's got a receiver. It's Derek Hill, a 37-yard scamper, and Eric Archie's first and possibly only touchdown of the game puts Ole Miss ahead with 5 minutes left, but Miami still has a chance to tie. 20 seconds left. They needed the conversion, and Casey Carter is going to take a sack. Nobody got open for him in time, and it's barbecue chicken. We will have a new national champion here in year number 2. The Ole Miss Rebels is going to win 17-10 as they will take on Ohio State in the next round. So just to recap, this is what your college football playoff bracket is going to be looking like as of right now. We're going to first start by seeing USC take on Minnesota. Minnesota proving that they are more than worthy of getting one of those wildcard spots. They proved that by beating Nebraska. However, on the other side, a little bit of parity as Ohio State and Ole Miss looking to play either one of the two teams mentioned earlier in the national championship. So let's not wait any longer. Let's go ahead and jump right into the semifinal matchups that are in the college football playoff. So now we go ahead and find ourselves knee deep into the college football playoffs as we now move on to the semifinals. Ohio State and Ole Miss now getting ready to go ahead and play each other, as the Ohio State Buckeyes, they were a team that pulled the upset on Georgia 27-21, while Ole Miss, we just saw Ole Miss play. They had a close game against the Miami Hurricanes, but they defeat the defending national champions. We'll see who gets to punch their ticket first into the national championship game later in this episode, as Ole Miss is going to start with the football. Archie going to run into the outside. He's got a little bit of space to work with, and Archie with a nice game to get this game started. He gets a 20-yard rush to start this football game as they'll continue to lean on that ground game, and they are gashing the Ohio State defense with reckless abandon. Tony Brandt's going to get a 25-yard run. Huge first down for the Rebels of Ole Miss. And now, first and goal coming up. Archie looking for a touchdown, and he'll find an open Stephen Castillo for the 3-yard touchdown reception. And that will mean, ladies and gentlemen, that the Ole Miss Rebels, they are going to go ahead and take the lead. Meanwhile, 7-0 score here for Ohio State as the Buckeyes trying to throw in the middle of the field. He's got a man. Brooks Hicks just throws across his body, and that's going to be leading to a 74-yard touchdown to Brandon Burks. The first throw that Ohio State has, and he finds Burks right on the money and just runs away from everybody after that. So we might have ourselves an exciting game on our hands to whiff the national championship on the line. 2nd and 4 now. Ohio State back with the ball. They actually got a stop on defense this time, and it's Ohio State taking it to the Rebels of Ole Miss, the heart and soul of the Sun Belt Conference. It'll eventually lead to a field goal. The field goal kick is going to be up, and it's going to be good. So Ohio State now with a 10-7 lead. As now, late in the first quarter, Ole Miss looking to even things up. They set up the screen. This is Justin Florida out in open space. Down the sideline. Gets away from a tackle, but it's going to be dragged out of bounds. A nice 24-yard reception. And now Ole Miss looks to retake the lead. Read option. Archie out on the perimeter. It cannot get away from that last defender, though. But Archie with a big-time run. That's a 23-yard run for Eric Archie. In the ground game, going to take care of the rest. Justin Florida with his first touchdown of the day that goes for a 12-yard scamper. And Ole Miss will retake the lead. And we'll also see Florida get that school record. That's the 17th rushing touchdown of the season. That is a school record for a single season, but we might have some big records of our own on our hand as Brooks Hicks, man, just continues to keep dealing in this first half. He is on fire, completing 7 in his first 8 passes. He's got 2 touchdowns there, and he's looking for a 3rd touchdown, getting it out to the running back on the perimeter. And ladies and gentlemen, that will be another touchdown for the Ohio State Buckeyes, as this is the biggest lead that Ohio State will enjoy all day long. Brooks now with his 3rd passing touchdown of the game already. 3 passing touchdowns will be a pretty good day for any quarterback, but the fact that he's already have it done not even 3 minutes into the second quarter is a resounding achievement. And speaking of Brooks Hicks, he's going to try to drop back the pass again. He's got another man deep downfield. It's Brandon Burks who burns the defense once again. A 45-yard touchdown for Ohio State. Brooks Hicks is on fire, and his receivers are winning across the board. Brandon Burks just, again, that was supposed to be press coverage on the outside. He burns it with ease and makes them pay for it. So now a 31-14 lead as Ohio State continuing to show that they're an offensive juggernaut. This could become 38-14 down the sideline. He's going to be gone like a girl in a country song. They count that as a passing touchdown, but Keith Carter able to bring that all the way to the crib. So Ole Miss really needs to get that passing offense going, and this is an uncomfortable spot for Ole Miss. They're usually more run-oriented. This is certainly going to be a challenge. However, Archie does march him down into the red zone, looking to finish the job, handed it off to the fullback Ryan Gore, and I'm sure Not the Expert is out there smiling somewhere. Ryan Gore able to punch it in. The fullback, they'll even go for 2 to make this a 16-point game, and that is going to be successful with Stephen Castillo getting open on the outside there. Not at first, though, just really following the eyes of the quarterback there, who's able to hang tough in the pocket. But Ole Miss has to figure out a way to contain Brooks Hicks because he's been a problem all day long. They are just not getting the pressure required to make Brooks Hicks uncomfortable. He has some time to throw back there, and that's going to continue here. Somehow getting that pass off. That wasn't even bad pressure that time. He got him moving in the pocket. But maybe it's just that type of day for the true freshman quarterback. Brooks Hicks is on fire right now. That's his 6th passing touchdown, and that ties a school record for most passing touchdowns in a single game. One more and he'll have the school record all by himself in his name. But first, we check back in on the Ole Miss offense as they try to respond. As Archie's going to drop back, he'll scramble to the outside. He's got a lot of space to work with. Does eventually get caught from behind, but a red zone opportunity that is unfortunately going to end in a field goal attempt, as Ole Miss does end up stalling after that. But they're trying to chip back into this game. Down by 20. Still quite a bit of football left to be played, but not a lot of room for error at this point, and they could not have that happen. It's been a clean game for both teams, and Eric Archie finally has the first blemish for either team. Just a pass to Stephen Castillo that was thrown late. And now this Ohio State offense has been lethal all day today. They get their best field position of the ball game, and we're going to quickly take advantage as we do have Brian Britt running on the outside. Nice run. It eventually leads to a red zone opportunity. Play action. Hicks throws to the right hand side and finds Brandon Burks again. Touchdown, Ohio State, as Hicks does set the school record for passing touchdowns in the game, set by the late Delane Haskins. R.I.P. to an Ohio State great. But Ohio State with a massive lead right now, 52-25, and Ole Miss is just falling apart right before our eyes right now. What is actually going on at the moment? You absolutely hate to see it. Ohio State just having Ole Miss's number right now, as it looks like Ohio State is out here struggling at the moment, as Ohio State's going to run on the outside, running for the run on the perimeter, going to get the touchdown, and Burks is going to score yet again. But then, 2nd and goal here, we're going to get that 60-burger up on the board. Burks is going to take it himself this time. That's another touchdown for the true freshman quarterback. Brooks Hicks is him today. Oh my goodness. He is absolutely him in this one, as Ohio State nearly whipped the 60 burger. So, needless to say, Ole Miss is probably not going to win this game unless there is a miracle that is ready to unfold right before our eyes. But the Ole Miss Rebels, they're certainly not going to give up, at least not yet. Archie's going to run this ball into the end zone. That's another touchdown for Ole Miss. That'll get them 59-32. Still a lot of work that needs to be done, though, as Archie's going to drop back again. Throws over the middle of the field, and I mean, this ball was thrown in triple coverage. I don't know what we were doing here. But what I do know is happening is that Ohio State is going to get yet another turnover. And keep in mind, the Buckeyes have already scored 59 points. 70 is certainly still in play for Ohio State. That would be a record in the NCSL college football playoff, okay? So that's a thing that could indeed happen here. But Ohio State, they're going to take it easy here. They're going to settle for a field goal. We'll see if Ole Miss could do something here, and what could very well be the final drive of the season for Eric Archie and company, as Archie's going to run the ball right up the middle. He'll pick up the first down. But less than 2 minutes left to play. Archie's going to drop back again. 4-man rush. But it's going to take some pressure up the middle, and he fumbles the ball. Ohio State is going to recover the fumble. And if that fat lady wasn't singing now, oh boy, that fat lady is singing today. That means Ohio State is going to win 62-32. And they will be punching their ticket right into the national championship of the college football playoff. But now let's go ahead and find out real fast who is going to be taking on the Ohio State Buckeyes in the national championship. Will it be the Minnesota Golden Gophers? Could they pull the upset against the number one team in America, the USC Trojans, who have not lost a single game yet here in this entire season? Minnesota will certainly have a tall task on their hands, but we'll see if they can pull it off as they beat Nebraska here in the quarterfinal. However, USC, with a minute to go in the first quarter, they will be the ones that will strike first, as John Concepcion is going to find the end zone, and that is a early touchdown for USC. They will take a 7-0 lead into the first quarter. But Minnesota looking to put together a drive of their own, as Harrison is going to run the option, trying to get it out to the running back, who's got some space on the outside, down the sideline, and is going to be pushed out, but not before getting inside the 10-yard line. Jason Haynes gets Minnesota on the verge of tying this ball game up. Goal line situation. Harris looks to the left-hand side, and Tucker Wayne is there for the touchdown, and Minnesota is going to extend the tie once they hit the extra point. If they do go ahead and hit that extra point, you never know these days. But that being said, we got ourselves a tie ball game. We got an interesting game here, as USC has been held contained pretty well so far, but it looks like Ben Scott is getting ready to start cooking. He gets a big-time throw down the sideline. We'll set up a last-second field goal attempt, as the Trojans will take a 10-7 lead into the half. But can Minnesota hang on for all 4 quarters? 10-7 still your score. Scott looks to the right-hand side and finds Jeff Evans in the end zone. Touchdown USC, and that puts Ben Scott at close to 250 yards. Finally got that pass touchdown that he was looking for too. So now the Minnesota offense got to respond too, and he might have a big play in the receiver, Tucker Lane, who's having a big day so far for Minnesota. 4 catches, 52 yards, and a touchdown, having a solid day. But Harris not having a solid of a day, as they have put the ball on the ground. Harrison very fortunate that Minnesota still has the football right now. That could have gone extraordinarily wrong. Instead, Minnesota will get a field goal up on the scoreboard. And while they're still behind, they're keeping themselves in distance of USC. It's still a close game. 17-10 is going to be your score as Ben Scott takes over. And it looks like it might not be a one-score game too much longer, as Anthony Johnson with a big-time catch down the middle of the field. but they can't finish that drive in spite of the 42-yard reception. Trojans have to settle for a field goal once again. It's 20-10 in favor of the Trojans. Minnesota trying to keep themselves in the game, but the ball's on the ground, and USC is going to recover downfield. Is this going to be taken all the way back? And it's not. It will not be taken all the way back. But man, a time to avoid the turnover bugs. Unfortunately, it's not meant to be. USC is going to win 23-10. That ends up being your final score, as we'll see them in the national championship as well. Which means here is what that bracket is going to be looking like. We have Ohio State. We saw them blow out Ole Miss. We have USC pull away in the fourth quarter. We've seen the entirety of the college football playoff play out right in front of our eyes thus far. And now it comes down to two teams. Who will win in the national championship game? We'll find out now. But before we go into that national championship game, guys, if you are really enjoying this content, by the way, make sure you hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button as well. If you do happen to be brand new to the channel, I would truly appreciate if you did both of those things. But now, let's go into that national championship game. So here we are, the NCSL National Championship. We are just about ready to get it underway. Ohio State, USC, two of the top teams in the country. Well, they will finally go head to head here, and a champion shall be decided right here, right now. Ohio State and USC getting ready to go ahead and get at it here shortly. And let's go ahead and jump right into the game action. We start late in the first quarter. Ohio State does have an early lead, but it'll be the USC Trojans that'll look for the first touchdown, and they're gonna get it. Freddie Warren is found in the back of the end zone. Touchdown USC. And Ben Scott continues his heroic campaign from the quarterback position. Ben Scott continuing to dot up secondaries everywhere. And USC will take a lead here in the national championship game. And for Ohio State, they're going to be looking to answer back. We got Brooks Hicks, the starting quarterback, true freshman, trying to throw over the middle, but he puts his defense in a bad spot as that turnover happens deep in Ohio State territory. So USC with a real shot to go ahead and really open this game up. Thankfully, the Ohio State defense holds. They only get a field goal off of that turnover. So Ohio State now, they will have a chance to tie as Keith Carter. Hey, Mr. Carter, how are you doing? Well, he's doing great now that he's close to the end zone. We'll see if Ohio State can finish the job as they're going to run it up the gut with the running back, Brian Britt, who ties the game in the national championship. Oh, knotted up at 10 apiece. We got ourselves a classic on our hands, a potential classic on our hands, I should say, as Ohio State now has a chance to retake the lead. 5 minutes left in the game, as that's a big-time throw to Brandon Burks. 34-yard reception downfield. Both teams showing that they certainly belong in the national championship game. Ohio State more than just a Cinderella story, as they have a 13-10 lead early. But USC, they're going to get their tailback, Nick Richards, who is an absolutely dangerous man. He's going to take a couple of Ohio State defenders for a ride. That helps fuel USC down the field, where Ben Scott is going to find his running back yet again. Nick Richards makes one man miss. He breaks another tackle, and now he's in the Ohio State end zone. Touchdown USC. Ben Scott will have his second scoring toss of the ball game. That was a nice job finding the check down, and Nick Richards made that touchdown happen as he'll make multiple defenders miss, and he'll score yet again. But even so, Ohio State's going to remain in this game. 17-16 your score as we jump into the second half. Brooks Hicks with all day to throw this pass as Brandon Burks gets absolutely tattooed. Probably would have been a targeting in today's college football, but back in 2013 when this game was made, that hit was perfectly fine and legal. Brings it back to the time where hard hits were actually cool and not trying to be actively taken out of the game. But Antoine Bush is going to find the end zone for Ohio State. They will get the touchdown. They will also try for the 2-point conversion as well. This would make it a 7-point lead. However, Brooks Hicks just runs out of time. He will not be able to get that pass off, unfortunately. So the 2-point conversion is not successful, but they will still have a 5-point lead for right now, as USC will look to try to retake the lead, but that pass is going to be cut off. It will be intercepted, and Ohio State will score yet again. And that was Nick Allen that was able to get in front of Jason Clayton there. Just basically ran the route for him. So Ohio State was able to get a couple of field goals after that. It's 28-17 here, but still trying to be aggressive for whatever reason. Like, the time is on your side, my man. I don't know what's happening here, but I guess Vincent Gold won some national championship glory of his own. And that was even with the offensive pass interference. Luckily, USC doesn't do anything with it. So it's still 28-17. Got a chance to close this game out. And Vincent Gold, the backup quarterback that's in the game, he is going to fumble it. And this could be trouble. Does anyone have the speed to catch him? No, he does not. That's probably a late hit, but NCAA never calls that. Antoine Chambers single-handedly gave USC life because they were on the brink. They did not have any timeouts left. They needed a big play, and by golly, did they just get a big play right there and now. So they'll go for the 2-point conversion following that big-time touchdown. This would make it just a field goal game, and they'll get it with Jason Clayton. He'll score, so it's just a field goal difference between USC and Ohio State. Less than 2 minutes to go. All of a sudden, we have a lot more drama in this game, which comes down to the onside kick. Ohio State and USC there's gonna be a scram for it. Hang on now, and USC recovers. So Ben Scott has a chance to win the national championship for the USC Trojans. 2 minutes left in the game. Scott fires, caught! First down for USC is Freddie Warren with a 33-yard reception, and it sets up a red zone opportunity. First and goal is going to hit it onto the tailback, Nick Richards. He's going to score. Touchdown, USC, and the Trojans storm back down by 11 with less than 2 minutes to go, and USC has the final knockout blow. The Trojans are going to win the national championship. I cannot believe they pulled this comeback off. They beat Ohio State 32-28. So an amazing game to end the national championship at Allegiant Stadium within Las Vegas, Nevada. But one team had to win and one team had to lose. USC was able to survive the gauntlet, beating Penn State, beating Minnesota, beating Ohio State in the national championship as well. And it brings us to here, the end of the season. And it was an exciting year number 2, one that I certainly enjoyed with every fiber of my heart. But with that being said, all good things have to come to an end, which means year number 2 is officially over. And what will happen in the very next episode is we will have the off-season episode for you guys, where you guys will have your opportunities if you want a custom player, if you want a custom coach as well. That information will be out in the next episode, but it could come earlier if you're a member of my Discord or a member of my channel membership program. Those are all included in the description down below. But with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure you go ahead, smack that like button, hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. This is John J Gaming on the mic signing off, but hoping you guys are all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.